the end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is August 10th, 2020. This is episode 230. And today, War on Children. And you know me, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz. Did you know that the word kid comes from the young of a goat?
I don't know if that's where it comes from, but I know that
circa 1200. The origin of the word.
A cause and effect thing here, but I get it. Okay. Now, I just want to make sure real quick, Gonz, before we get too deep into it here, I want to make sure that everybody can hear you. So if you're watching the live stream, if you can hear Gonz, make sure to pop something in the chat right now so we know it's working. That's been one of our biggest problems, is Gonz mysteriously disappearing at the beginning of the show. All right. I see somebody says, yep. I'm assuming that you're coming through, Gonzo.
Yep. It looks like I am, at least on the computer monitors here. So I think I am coming through.
Yahoo! We did it.
Made it work.
We finally learned how to podcast, Gonz.
It only took 9 years, but I think we're figuring it out.
Almost a decade, and we finally got it. Yeah. Well, this is fun. We're back. It's Monday, Gonz. It's Monday. Are you enjoying your first day of the Gregorian week here? Yeah.
Did you know kids comes from the young of a goat?
Gosh.
It's Scandinavian. You should know. It's Old Norse.
I don't doubt you. I do know that the young of a goat is called a kid, but what came first? The goat kid or the human kid?
The goat kid, circa 1200. The human kid didn't happen until the 1590s as a slang.
Wow, you've really looked into this, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it up.
Is this part of a new theory? Are we going to get a breakdown of
what
this means for our human children?
No huge theory, although I will say that it's somewhat thematic to a couple stories we'll get to later. But, you know the language police. You can say like, hey, I got kids over here. And they're like, hey, now. Yeah. What do you got? Little goat children? Is that what you have?
Also kangaroo. No, those are called joeys. Yeah. See, you've opened up a whole can of worms. Chat is exploding with alternate facts. Alternative facts, Gonz.
How do you know they're alternative? Maybe I
just don't know who to believe anymore.
All right.
Well, it's either your facts or their facts. You can't have two opposing facts. Although that seems to be the world that we live in, that we can have alternative facts. But speaking of alternative facts, Gonz, I think it's time to jump into the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Watch out, Canada. This is the firstnews.com. The headline is Space Agency signs 2.5 million euro contract for Titan robotic arm project. If this is your first show, keep in mind Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. All three of those examples sound sarcastic, but they are indeed true. So tune in at the beginning of the show here to keep an eye on Flippy and have the proxy conversation. We use Flippy as an example for how robotics and AI are weaseling their way into our lives in all sorts of unexpected ways. This one's not so unexpected, but our Canadian listeners, they're going to have to step it up, because Canada for a long time has had the honor of being the funder and the builder of Canadarm2, the famous robotic arm that is moving stuff around up in space for the International Space Station. But now this article has some more info for us. Polish company PIAP Space has signed a contract worth 2.5 million euros with the European Space Agency to build a robotic arm for fixing satellites on orbit. The Titan project will be the largest in history of the Polish space industry and the first for an entire satellite subsystem. PIAP Space will build a prototype of a multi-joint robotic arm for the future deorbiting and servicing of satellites in the Earth's orbit. They will begin with a laboratory model of the robotic joint and then construct a prototype arm consisting of different types of joints to test its functionality in various scenarios. Matsutswolski, Piap Space's president of the board, said, quote, "The Titan project is a great success of the company for which we worked with our team of subcontractors for almost 3 years. This project is especially important for us. It is proof of the European Space Agency's trust in us as they entrusted the integration of the whole satellite subsystem to a Polish." Oh man, I have completely lost all existence in virtual world here. Oh no, this is bad.
All right.
Oh no, bad timing. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
You want me to finish
Gaunt,
the
you're
story?
gonna have to take the rest of this. I got to go through some
Okay.
things here to get my life back in order.
All right. So it says here, quote, "A lot of hard work awaits us, but it is an important step in achieving the strategic goals of the company. The implementation of the Titan project will bring us closer to the introduction of the robotic arm on the commercial market," end quote. Yeah, they're going to use it on the space agency. I have a little quote from at the end here highlighted. "Creating a new class of robots capable of working in the harsh conditions of the space environment is a goal that we have set for ourselves when organizing PIAP Space. I am pleased to see that we are moving from the first stage of preparatory works to the stage of product development, in this case of the robot arm satellite subsystem." You know, I have a question, though.
Yes.
For flat earthers, what are they building here? Are they building a robot arm just attached to the firmament, like trying to disassemble it, or what? Like, what's the...
Well, that's the conspiracy, isn't it? Maybe these giant robot arms. Again, shout out
Titan.
to Canada. Shout out to Canada Arm 2, our most beloved giant space arm. But Poland's coming for you. With Project Titan. You know, maybe they are affixing the arms to the dome above the flat Earth in order to reach through it and transport goods from the heavenly realms to the earthly realms.
Yeah. All right. Okay. There you go.
Okay, I'm back in action here. So there you go. I just, we have a lot of Canadian listeners, and I was so excited to hail the praises of Canada Arm 2 and their participation in the International Space Station. But you got to watch it. You got to step up your game, Canada, because Project Titan is coming for you.
All right. Well, we have a whole bunch of updates here. The first one, well, let's get the update jingle out of the way.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
This is bizpackreview.com. Dentist warns harmful mask mouth is impacting 50% of patients due to prolonged use of masks. Did you know about this, Basil? Mask mouth. As if the debate over face mask wearing amid COVID-19 isn't contentious enough in some quarters, a dental practice is warning that keeping your mouth covered all or most of the time could allegedly lead to harmful hygiene issues such as gum recession, periodontal disease, and bad breath. A Manhattan dentist calls this potential side effect mask mouth as a play on meth mouth that colloquially refers to the decay of teeth and gums among drug addicts. Explaining the phenomenon, the dentist Dr. Rob Raimondi told the New York Post that, quote, "We're seeing inflammation in people's gums that have been healthy forever and cavities in people who have never had them before. About 50% of our patients are being impacted by this, so we decided to name it mask mouth after meth mouth."
Oh, no.
Raimondi's colleague, Dr. Mark Scafani, explained that, quote, "People tend to breathe through their mouth instead of through their nose while wearing a mask. The mouth breathing is causing the dry mouth, which leads to a decrease in saliva. And saliva is what fights the bacteria and cleanses your teeth. Saliva is also what neutralizes acid in the mouth and helps prevent tooth decay and gum disease." And it goes on here, but, I got a little highlight here. If it turns out that gum recession is a potentially dangerous health outcome for prolonged face mask usage, that could escalate the allegations about an infringement on personal freedom to a whole new level. So there you go. Mask mouth, Basil. Your bad breath and decaying gums, all because you wear the mask. And also, masks are turning us all into mouth breathers.
I was gonna say that's it's quite the insult, or at least it used to be. This is interesting because this whole mask thing hasn't really even been around that long. If it can cause such damage in just 5 months of wearing it periodically as you leave the house, that seems like a quick effect.
I feel like there's some missing variables, like people not going to work and so therefore not brushing their teeth. That could probably have something to do with it as well. Just being in your house all the time, not feeling like you need to brush your teeth or freshen up.
Yeah, not seeing too many people of the outside affiliations.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
That's what I call other people
Great.
of other outside affiliations.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's pretty intense. Well, there you go. Another point of contention for the mask debate, the great mask debate.
All right. We also have this update here.
It's got to be biblical.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
This is from the Gospel Coalition survey. Majority of American Christians don't believe the gospel. That's discouraging. I'm only going to read the first couple paragraphs here. A new survey finds that a majority of people who describe themselves as Christian accept a works-oriented means to God's acceptance. A survey conducted by the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University find that American adults today increasingly adopt a, quote, salvation can be earned perspective. A plurality of adults, 48%, believe that if a person is generally good or does enough good things during their life, they will earn a place in heaven. 1/3 of adults, 35%, disagree. A majority of Americans who describe themselves as Christian, 52%, also accept a works-oriented means to God's acceptance. Even those associated with churches whose official doctrine says eternal salvation comes only from embracing Jesus Christ as Savior. Almost half of all adults associated with Pentecostal, 46%, mainline Protestant, 44%, and evangelical, 41% churches, as well as nearly 2/3 of Catholics, 70%, hold that view. While about 65% of American adults describe themselves as Christians, only about half, 54%, believe they will experience heaven after they die. Only 1/3 of adults, that's 33%, believe they will go to heaven solely because of confessing their sins and embracing Jesus as their Savior. Another 1 in 5 expecting to experience heaven are counting on earning their way in, or because they embrace universalism, that is, God will let all people into heaven. So, yeah, kind of interesting how they slapped that 33% number on the people that actually believe they'll, get into heaven solely because of confessing their sins and embracing Jesus as their Savior. I don't know.
There you go. I mean, it certainly is a bigger debate than I think a lot of people think about often. I won't say that they don't hold strong opinions about it, but it's one of those things where, depending on the community, Christian community that you're in, that can kind of be taken for granted. And of course, all sides have all sorts of scriptural references to support their side of the debate there. But yeah, that is very interesting. 33% popping up again, as it always does, in order to just send a little message.
It's almost like a reverse, kind of thing where they're trying to slap 33% on those who believe. But anyway, thought I'd throw that in there because I thought it was an interesting little article. They do a lot of these surveys, and surveys are only as good as the people who actually take them. So it's not.
I know, and there's always questions too about how the data is extracted, how the wording of the questions is, the little details, little rhetorical details that can have big effects on the emotional impact of these types of polls. For instance, one of them being let's see, only about half, 54%, believe they will experience heaven after they
Right.
die.
Right.
Well, what does experience mean?
Right.
You know?
You're just going to experience it and then get thrown in hell, or are you going to be there, or what? Yeah, there's a lot of
and then
gray area.
Even the 33% believe they will go to heaven solely because of confessing their sins and embracing Jesus as their savior. And then comes the question, if you confess your sins and embrace Jesus as your savior, and then, run around murdering people and doing bad things, the question is, are you still secured in heaven just because, of a one-time confession type of thing, which, is a big contentious point even for non-Christians. Even when I was younger in high school, having a lot of these conversations with other high schoolers, which, is just about worth what it is. One of the big criticisms from the non-Christian high schoolers was, well, you can just accept Jesus and say a little prayer and then run around murdering people and you'll still go to heaven. And the once saved, always saved, non-works-based salvation does make that a complicated conversation to have. But, of course, there's all sorts of doctrinal views on this. There you go. There you go. Stats, polls, wording,
polls, Christian
rhetoric.
polls. Yep. All right. One more quick update here, and this has to do with Lebanon.
It will kill.
And you want to take this one here?
Oh, sure. Here I go. This is from NBCnews.com. The article's titled, Lebanese Government Resigns as Fury Over Deadly Explosion Deepens Political Crisis.
The government resigns.
The government, Lebanon's government resigned Monday.
The whole government just resigned. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. As the fallout from last week's deadly explosion deepened a political crisis in the country's blast-ravaged capital, Prime Minister Hassan Diab said he would resign along with all of his ministers. Quote, "We will back down and stand with the people. We need to open the door for the people," he said in a televised address to the nation before presenting his resignation to President Michael Aoun. That's interesting. So there's a prime minister and a president. The move comes after enraged protesters and world leaders alike demanded political reform following the August 4th blast that killed almost 160 people and injured thousands more. Protesters took to the streets of Beirut again Sunday with video showing what appeared to be tear gas canisters being fired at demonstrators who had congregated in a street near the parliament. Diab blamed politicians who preceded him for the earthquake that has hit Lebanon. That earthquake being in scare quotes there. The quote continues, "This disaster, which has hit the Lebanese at the core, occurred as a result of chronic corruption in politics, administration, and the state," he said in a televised address. The former professor said his government had failed in his battle against corruption. Quote, "They knew that we pose a threat to them and that the success of this government means a real change in this long-ruling class whose corruption has asphyxiated the country." Wow. There will now be negotiations in parliament as to who will be the next prime minister amid calls for widespread economic political reform. These negotiations could take weeks or even months, according to Karim Makdisi, an associate professor at the American University of Beirut, or could be very quick if an agreement has already been made behind closed doors. Last week's blast, which sent a mushroom-like cloud into the sky above Beirut's port, dealt a blow to a country already on its knees. The blast was triggered when a warehouse fire ignited hundreds of tons of ammonium nitrate, according to Diab. It sent a shockwave that scarred the coastline of Beirut, destroying hundreds of buildings and leaving many homeless. The article continues there, but I think we get the gist of it. This is a pretty big deal, Gons, and I've been following the whole thing as it has been developing over the last week or so. It's very interesting. It seems like the main belief held by at least the outspoken Lebanese is that this was a bomb. I mean, whether or not it was an actual accident or just a product of corruption and et cetera, many of the outspoken activists and things, they're just straight up calling it a bomb. They think it's totally part of some plan to further cripple the people of Lebanon, and help some sort of grip tighten around the people. But, a whole government resigning is pretty exciting. It did not mention that the president himself would be resigning, just the prime minister and the lesser ministers. I don't really understand fully. It's just outside of my cultural context how you can have a president and a prime minister and a bunch of other little ministers. But I guess that's how that works over there. So you've got a full-scale revolution going on, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see a lot of the response from our last episode when we talked about, or a couple episodes, when we talked about some of the potential technologies being used and stuff like that. And, we explore those things without any kind of proof. We just sort of look at the potential of that technology. Right. And it was interesting to see that Trump called it an attack early on, and then he started to back off and say disaster, much like the disaster that happened in Texas in like 1947. And there's a few others that are similar, though not exactly the same. And they're sending all kinds of Trump's sending all kinds of resources over there, and Lebanon being their currency went haywire. 2-3 months ago, they were doing like a mock funeral for their currency. And so they're already in economic turmoil. And so something like this would definitely be kind of like a final blow to just crumble it all and restart or whatever the agenda is. It kind of seems to align with the whole Great Reset type of mentality. Let's just blow it up. Let's just start over.
Right.
Might as well just tear it all down,
Yeah, and of course, governments causing some sort of explosive disaster is not new. No. Not even, forget any more recent examples, but, Hitler taking down his own parliament building, using that as a way to take control and switch out the regimes. That's always the spooky part with this type of thing is again, it goes back to who's pulling your puppet strings, because just because the government, who is considered corrupt and, not making good things happen, resigns, that does not automatically mean that whoever comes in to replace that regime is going to be any better. That's exactly what happened with Hitler. He was sort of a sidelined, he was almost a joke before events led to his party taking power. Right. And, there's certainly a lot of Germans who would have preferred to replace the power structure with literally anyone besides Hitler. Yeah. So, you just never know. Hopefully it all comes out for the best for the Lebanese people. But as we know, the power structures and the people who occupy them are, they are really good at convincing people that they're the right choice. And you never know until it's too late.
Yep. And again, all this coming at a time when gold is hitting all-time highs, silver making a huge rally, and even Bitcoin making some rounds. So very interesting. And that and it's not just to do with Lebanon. It has to do with a lot of, I think China has a lot to do with that too, but people trying to flee Hong Kong and stuff, trying to secure some of their cash and whatnot. But yeah, very interesting, something to keep an eye on. And I just thought it was pretty crazy to see a headline that says Lebanese government resigns. Can you imagine the U.S. government resigns, just the whole government, which would be a very, that would be so many layers to that, because the federal government, the state government, we're a little more, I guess the word is decentralized.
A good way to get the United States Congress to resign?
For Trump to sign a bunch of executive orders.
Well, first you take away their power to give themselves pay raises. Right. Then you take away the exemptions where they're allowed literally allowed to do insider trading.
Yeah.
Take away all these, very corrupt rules that let Congress people get away with so much. And
What? We
suddenly
can't
being
be
a
corrupt anymore? What are we doing here then?
Yeah, what do you mean I can't break all sorts of laws that apply to every other citizen? Well, why am I even in this job? Get me out of here. That's what it would take.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's sort of our quick updates. And, there's always more updates to be had, but I think we need to get to the big story that we pushed off for a whole week.
Two episodes now.
Yeah.
This is our third episode trying to get to this story, and it's almost past the point of
relevancy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, but I would say I think it is still very relevant.
Yeah.
But it is past the point of the initial shock and awe.
Right.
Which maybe it's best that we come at it at this time. So I'm going to read over here from the dailymail.co.uk.
The race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Sorry, I had to
in
get
classic
that in.
Daily Mail fashion. The first paragraph that serves as a headline here says, exclusive police body cam footage shows moment by moment arrest of George Floyd for the first time, from terror on his face when officer points a gun at his head, sobbing before he's shoved into a squad car, and begging to breathe as his life is drained away. Wow.
I can't even get this whole headline to fit in the little... I have to
on the screen.
Yeah, I have to shrink the whole thing to make it happen. Okay.
The article reads, body cam footage from two cops accused in the murder of George Floyd is revealed exclusively by dailymail.com today, and it shows a rookie officer terrifying Floyd by pointing a handgun at his head and another callously picking a pebble from the squad car tire just inches from the dying man and seconds before he draws his last breath. The tapes show in minute detail how a very distressed Floyd begs Mr. Officer, please don't shoot me, please man, before the struggle that ended with his death on May 25th. It also shows how belligerent cops cursed at and manhandled the sobbing suspect, ignoring his pleas for compassion. Floyd resisted as the cops tried to force him into the back of the car, telling them he suffers from claustrophobia and anxiety, and how Officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes, leading to his death, ignoring Floyd's repeated cries of "I can't breathe." Floyd is even heard predicting his own death. Quote, "I'll probably just die this way," he says. Transcripts from the videos were released in mid-July, but a judge in Minneapolis had ruled the video could only be viewed in the courthouse, meaning few people have had the chance to watch the powerful images. But the footage has now been leaked to the dailymail.com, so the world can finally see the tragedy of Floyd's last minutes as cops were mindless of Floyd's anguish. The footage includes more than 18 minutes from Officer Alex Quang's body cam and 10 minutes from Officer Thomas Lane. They were the first two cops to arrive on the scene after a complaint that Floyd had attempted to pass a fake $20 bill to buy cigarettes at Cup Foods, a store in the Powderhorn Park section of Minneapolis. Oops, so many videos trying to play on my screen here. Let's stop that. Okie dokie. Chauvin and a fourth officer, Tao Thao, were called in to assist. All four were fired the day after Floyd's death. Chauvin, 44, has been charged with Floyd's murder, and the other three face charges of aiding and abetting murder. The events have led to months of Black Lives Matter protests throughout the country over police racism and brutality. The two officers' body cam videos have been filed with Hennepin County District Court by Lane's defense attorney. It is clear from the video that Floyd was not trying to run away. He had plenty of time to leave the scene before police arrived, but instead he decided to sit in his car with two friends, giving the cops an opportunity to approach. The videos begin with Lane, 37, and Kung, 26, both in their first week as Minneapolis police officers, entering Cup Foods. Oh man, what is going on here? My virtual reality office has been destroyed again, Guns. You have to take it for a second.
Okay, let's see.
Can we just have one show without technical difficulties?
No, especially if you're going to be using your VR setup there.
Oh, this is...
Let's see. Where were you? I wasn't really following along.
I am back in action.
Okay.
The video is up to them waving the banknote. Quote, before they drive off, he's parked right here. It's a fake bill from the gentleman, he tells the cops. Lane and Kung then both approach Floyd's blue Mercedes SUV on the other side of the street. Lane goes to the driver's side where Floyd is sitting at the wheel, and Kung approaches the passenger side where Floyd's ex, Shawanda Hill, is in the back seat, and a friend, Maurice Hall, is in the front. Lane is seen knocking on the car window with his flashlight, but Floyd does not immediately open the door. Once the door is open, Lane immediately pulls out his handgun and points it straight at Floyd's head. Now, remember, it's going to take us a little bit beat by beat here to describe the footage. And just keep in mind that before this, the only footage really that was available of the incident was the cell phone footage caught of, you know, the last minutes of this whole thing. So
right.
This official sort of breakdown as of the 4th was brand new. Okay, so Lane immediately pulls out his handgun and points it straight at Floyd's head. Quote, hey, man, I'm sorry, Floyd says, and apologizes again after Lane gets belligerent. Put your effing hands up right now. Let me see your other hand, the cop is heard saying. Floyd does not immediately put his hands on the wheel. Put your effing hands up there, Lane orders him. Jesus Christ, keep your effing hands on the wheel. Wow, this is aggressive language here. Floyd tells the officer he had been shot before, and Lane replies again with the keep your effing hands on the wheel. Going down, lots of pictures here. Lane then tells Floyd to put his foot inside the vehicle. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Floyd replies. Gosh dang, man, I got shot the same way, Mr. Officer, before. Okay, well then, I say, let me see your hands. You put your effing hands up, Lane responds. The cop then orders Floyd out of the car, hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, he says. Floyd replies, okay, Mr. Officer, please don't shoot me. Please, man. I'm not going to shoot you, Lane says. Step out and face away. I'll look at you eye to eye. Please don't shoot me, man. I just lost my mom, man. Floyd for Lane then starts talking to passengers, Hill and Hall. Why is he being all squirrely and not showing us his hands and just being all weird like that? Because he's been shot before, Hill, 45, replies. Well, I get that, Lane says, but still, when an officer says get out of the car, is he drunk or something? No, he's got a thing going on, Hill says, pointing to her head and making a circular movement with her finger as if to suggest her ex had mental problems. About the police, she adds. I'm scrolling down. The two officers then walk Floyd to the squad car, and the struggle really begins when Floyd refuses feet and face the car door. Please, man, don't leave me by myself, man, please. I'm just claustrophobic. Well, you're still going in the car, Lane says. Y'all, I'm going to die in here, Floyd protests. I'm going to die, man. I just had COVID, man. I don't want to go back to that. Lane offers to roll the cruiser windows down to help his phobia, but Floyd still struggles. I'm scared as F, he says. A bystander tells Floyd to calm down because he cannot win in the situation he is in. Quote, I don't want to win, Floyd says. I'm claustrophobic and I've got anxiety. I don't want to do nothing to them. While still in the car, Floyd says for the first time the line that has become synonymous with his death, I can't breathe. Shortly afterwards, Chauvin and Tao arrive on the scene. The officers finally get him in the squad car and close the rear driver's side door behind him, but for a reason that is not clear from the video, Floyd comes out of the passenger side door, still struggling. Within seconds, he's lying on the sidewalk with Chauvin's knee pressed against his neck and Lane and Kung helping to restrain him. He says he can't breathe over and over again and calls for his mama, but his voice slowly gets weaker as his life drains away. Tell my kids I love them, I'm dead, he says at one point. Kung is seen nonchalantly picking a pebble from the squad car tire as his right hand with his right hand as he restrains Floyd's legs with his left. As his knee presses the life out of Floyd, Chauvin, the most senior officer on the scene, asks rookies Lane and Kung if they are okay. Quote, my knee might be a little scratched, but I will survive, Lane answers. Tao asks his fellow officers whether Floyd is high. I believe so. We found a pipe, Kung replies. Lane says, we found a weed pipe. There might be something else. There might be like PCP or something. Then Floyd continues to wail that he can't breathe. Kung is heard telling him, you're fine. You're talking fine. Floyd replies, I'll probably just die this way. I'm through, Floyd says. I'm claustrophobic. My stomach hurts. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. I need some water or something, please. Then stop talking. Stop yelling, Chauvin replies. It takes a heck of a lot of oxygen to talk. As Floyd stops moving, Chauvin keeps his knee on his neck despite complaints from a small crowd that has gathered. Check his pulse, one man says repeatedly. You call what you are doing okay, but the other officers do little to stop Chauvin. At one point, Lane asks, should we roll him on around? So a lot in there, but there is a lot more also that bring up questions. Gons, what are your first thoughts?
I've been distracted looking at this Trump press conference that's breaking right now. He apparently ended it abruptly, and people are saying there were gunshots outside the White House just now. And,
really?
Yeah, but let me pull the. I'm sorry to switch on you.
No,
like
that's
this,
okay. I can do a little bit more breakdown on my end while you investigate that.
Let's see. Real quick, let me just see, because I have this footage here from MSNBC. It's a 20-second clip of Trump ending his conference or press conference abruptly. So let's
a little
take
breaking
a look at
news
this.
here.
It looks like they're just about going to be topping records, hopefully soon. Excuse me?
So it sounds like the Secret Service guy says there was shooting outside. That's what it sounded like to me. And then Trump going, oh, okay. And he kind of like nonchalantly walks off. And let's play that one more time.
You can hear one of the photographers just so excited by the fact that the Secret Service guy is on stage.
Try to listen in here.
Looks like they're just about going to be topping records, hopefully soon. Excuse me?
That photographer ruins the whole thing. So hard to hear what's happening.
He really does. Yeah. That photographer gets these 15 minutes of historical fame by totally disrupting some pretty good news.
Was it a gun or a machine gun camera? Interesting. I mean, all the different responses here. Some people saying staged to look important. Other people saying, this is it. They're going after him. Anyway, we'll kind of keep an eye on it.
Especially after Trump's weird cryptic comment the other day saying, basically saying they're going to try to kill me, so I might hide for a while.
Right. Okay.
Regarding his pharmaceutical industry related executive orders.
Yeah, so, let me dig around a little more. You can kind of wrap
keep
up
an
the
eye
Floyd
on that.
thing.
I'll just. Yeah. So if you haven't done it already, you can actually watch this extended footage. And one thing that a lot of people are making a pretty significant deal about is that he was saying, I can't breathe, long before the knee on the neck part of the incident, which has certainly becomes ammunition for those who are skeptical of the response to the whole. But whatever degree of evidence is that his ex is kind of calling him cuckoo right before, and the random sort of mention of COVID. I just had COVID, which seems like. I have no idea. He may or may not have had COVID, but certainly that would affect some sort of breathing even after recovery from COVID. There's a lot of talk in the scientific circles about ongoing lung and heart damage that can be long lasting after COVID. So that may have been involved as well. One thing that I noticed since I first read this article, I believe the first article I read made a big deal about mentioning his toxicology report. I don't know if you have an alternate article that would have that information, but there's reports that the toxicology report showed all sorts of different things in his bloodstream, including fentanyl, which is a very, very powerful. I don't know if it's officially an opioid. I'm just going to call it that for the sake of this conversation, where a piece of fentanyl the size of a grain of sand is enough to like kill a grown man. When I first read this article, it had the actual toxicology numbers about the amount of the different drugs in his bloodstream. But one big aspect of fentanyl use is significant respiratory suppression, respiratory function suppression, right. Which could have added to the I can't breathe thing. I mean, you mix COVID and fentanyl and what seems to be like an anxiety attack, evidence of some sort of anxiety, whether it's an ongoing disorder or an existing anxiety thing. He does say in a COVID effects and the effects of fentanyl in the system, certainly respiratory distress is almost guaranteed when you start adding those things together. Again, just to say it outright, no matter what these details are, let's be clear and say that it's, all deaths are tragic when they don't have to happen, and this being one of them, especially because it it was the trigger, the catalyst for such. Into the final judgment of Officer Chauvin specifically, but I'm sure the rest of these three officers, I have a feeling that.
Of course, mixing that with a methamphetamine, which was also in his system, is it's right. The mixture of that, which is very troubling, I would say, in sort of the mental state of someone, especially if you've been shot once and you have a gun pointed at you, and you allegedly have anxiety, and you're claustrophobic, and you had fentanyl and meth and THC in your system. That's a lot going, and you're recovering from COVID allegedly. I mean, that's like a lot of stuff.
So the death makes more sense after all of these these things,
and assume
not in sort of a not in any other way besides a medical way, I suppose.
Well, that's the real question here, because did the knee really kill him, or was all that other stuff responsible for his heart stopping? And that's kind of where I don't know if we'll ever know.
That's where the case is going to go, and that's why I think manslaughter is is just about as worse as Chauvin. The worst case scenario for Chauvin, because certainly the knee was a contributing factor. But when it comes to a court case, that's one way to get a charge significantly reduced, when you just become a factor in an accident like this.
Right. And
and I don't mean to call it an accident for any other reason than just looking for a word.
Right.
An incident.
And the fact that these officers were, just barely new onto the scene, that's super suspicious. I mean, given all of the all the TV shows we watch and how they infiltrate organizations and stuff, it's like, that's very interesting how that happened so quickly. And that's kind of where my skeptic mind goes. But again, one of the things people talk about, how does any of this matter? It's a false flag. And it's something to point out that just because something is a false flag doesn't mean that someone doesn't die. It doesn't mean that it's all fake.
That is a common misconception with the term false flag. Just because something is a false flag does not mean it's all crisis actors and scripts.
Right.
Just means that there was some forethought to the incident.
There could have been some forethought. There could have been, and obviously they used the opportunity. If it wasn't George Floyd's death, it was going to be some other death of an African American by the hands of a police officer or something along those lines. This one had, civilian footage and all that kind of stuff to really stoke the fire and really get it going. And so it was perfect timing. Just that's suspicious in itself, the timing of it all in general. But to pick a guy who did have all this other stuff going on is sort of convenient as well. If this was a healthy, not on drugs man, he may not have died, and so there's a lot of mystery surrounding this whole thing. When I watched the footage, I did watch the actual body cam, at least one of them, not the one that they released last week. And the thing that really jumped out to me was, you kind of mentioned it in the article, but saying I can't breathe before he ever hit the ground. And also arrest. And I get it, if he's having this anxiety attack, whatever, that's makes kind of sense. But it was just weird. Like, oh no, I don't want to be arrested. I'd rather be on the ground, and then being pulled to the ground and that whole situation. So
or
it's
at least
just
rather
very
be
weird.
Out of the car.
Out of the car. So the cop pointing the gun at him, I don't know if that was necessary.
Right at it with a headshot is a pretty rookie move.
Rookie, well, not just rookie, but just, I don't know. Yeah, earning some cred or something within because I've mentioned it before, but I think the Minneapolis police, that particular station was, full of corruption anyway. So, because police brutality is an issue, we're not going to dismiss that. But of course, it feels like that was taken advantage of for a cultural movement in this case that has completely gone out of hand. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but we had Chicago shooting and I think 100 people arrested from looting just last night.
Yeah.
So, the upheaval is continuing on in different parts of the country, and it's all because of this event, allegedly, that sparked it all. But here we are, June, July, August, 2.5 months later, and we're still having these violent clashes between the establishment. I would argue that they could be paid provocateurs at this point.
It's a mix. I think it's a mixed bag. Definitely a mixed bag.
So getting back to the Trump thing real quick, he did return to the White House briefing room and said there was a shooting outside the White House. So I guess that's why he went in. I don't see much else updated other than Secret Service trending, hashtag blame Trump trending right alongside it.
That's been trending for about 4 years now.
Yeah. Hashtag interrupt Trump. Also part of the trending cycle here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
At 5:17 Central or CDT. What is CDT? I don't know.
Central something. I don't know. I'll take.
Yeah, but 5:17. So let's see. That was sexual shooting, and somebody's been taken to the hospital. Trump said the president said the shots were fired by law enforcement, saying he believed the individual possible assassination attempt thwarted by law enforcement. Trump said he was escorted to the Oval Office by the agent. The White House was placed on lockdown following the incident. Trump praised the work of Secret Service personnel for their work in keeping him safe. Okay, so locking all the reporters inside there.
That was tweeted out by Breaking 9/11.
As he returns here in Washington after shots fired near the White House.
There was a shooting outside of the White House and seems to be very well under control. I'd like to thank the Secret Service for doing their always quick and very effective work. But there was an actual shooting, and somebody's been taken to the hospital. I don't know the condition of the person. It seems that the person was
cadence or demeanor. He's been taken off stage and stuff like that, and he's never in a hurry. It's almost like he's expecting it. It's a very interesting.
It feels like, when a president has an attempted assassination attempt, it kind of seems like a little badge of honor. But I don't know. That might just be me putting my own preconceived notions.
I'm
sure
the
mindset of these presidents.
I'm sure if it gets to the debate stage, if Hairy Legs Biden ever gets there, he'll boast about it. Telling Biden how he's too slow and
nobody's ever tried to kill.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, well, we'll again.
That.
Yep.
And it only took us a whole week to get to it.
Finally.
Okay. What's next?
We have a Friday hallway of the building chanting "Save the Children" and waving signs with all sorts of messages. Child lives matter. Pedophile is not a sexual orientation. End sex trafficking. John Podesta did around a sign screaming, "F vaccinations. Execute all pedophiles." The marchers even stopped on the Walk of Fame to vandalize Tom Hanks' star with a black Sharpie marker based on the belief that he is a trafficker. And some videos here. Human trafficking has been a crisis all throughout American history, but the advent of the internet and online socializing has made trafficking and abusing kids, an especially profitable venture, really, in the U.S. and abroad. But the Jeffrey Epstein sex abuse case, plus new developments about the involvement of socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, has made child trafficking the source of fuel for a cottage industry.
Doesn't want the truth to get out.
Conspiracy theorists and MAGA stands. They blame progressive activists and the mainstream media for perceived sins ranging from mass ignorance to a concerted agenda to sexualize children and normalize pedophilia, which we will talk about in a moment here with the Hasbro doll. They believe the biggest crisis that must be addressed in 2020 is child trafficking, rather than the economic collapse or America's reckoning with a racist justice system. Jeez. And amid all this fury and righteousness, Save the Children has become social media's hottest new issue to co-opt. Meanwhile, the muddying of a legitimate tragedy makes it hard to contain the spread of fringe theories, with people unknowingly sharing posts from authors who have a questionable grasp of the facts. I was surprised to find interesting Pizzagate logic, Basil.
Logic is one thing, but you can also describe what this person is talking about as Pizzagate logic, which is if somebody is giving true facts, talking about Epstein's whole dynasty, that the description of Pizzagate as Hillary Clinton owns a pizza parlor that trafficked children, there seems to be this obsession with saying, Epstein's doing this crazy, horrible stuff, but Pizzagate, you're crazy. It's just like this deflection that that makes no sense to me, and it's really irritating. Yeah. So, just because somebody posts about Epstein and they've also mentioned Pizzagate, they show that they have a complete lack of knowledge about, the actual facts of the Pizzagate understanding, and they are letting the misinformation that characterizes Pizzagate as centered around Hillary Clinton owning a pizza parlor is complete disinfo, misinfo, redirection, deflection, and it only reveals that they care more about their partisan politics than they do about, actually helping the children. One interesting fact, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't want to make a habit of plugging other podcasts because, of course, as we see here, the second you mention another podcast, you must believe and agree with every single thing that person says, which is not true and part of the problem with society today. But Sam, what's his name?
Sam
Harris. Yes, Sam Harris just did a podcast called The Worst Epidemic, and it is a grueling discussion about the epidemic of child trafficking. And it is not for the faint of heart, but I was happy to see that he did it and did call it the worst epidemic, which I think we would all agree with here, and goes into some very distressing details. And it's all, Sam Harris, he's not a conspiracy guy. He's allegedly quite an academic type guy, although like us, he's sort of hated by everybody because he, thinks for himself. At least it seems that way. That's the brand he's putting out. So anyways, if you're looking for a pretty brutal but very real discussion that, if you're looking for one that is a little bit more in the mainstream, as far as a mainstream discussion, a very good discussion about child trafficking, and not for the faint of heart, though. It has some very disturbing parts of the discussion, which he disclaims at the beginning. But there you go. Sam Harris, The Worst Epidemic, I believe it was called. I'm sorry to go off on such a tangent there, but yeah. I was very impressed by the conversation regarding that topic, and I think it's valuable.
Right. Okay. Moving on here, as it turns out, clicking on any assortment of innocuous seeming hashtag, whether it's Save the Children or End Trafficking, puts you straight into an insane spectrum of ideologies and analyses, whether it's anti-porn Christian voices or those who proclaim that Trump is about to liberate the world by rounding up pedophiles. There's a subtle grift here, too, one in which lifestyle influencers rapidly transition to blaring messaging about child trafficking as a cornerstone of their brand, despite no educational background or experience. And she goes on here. I stumbled across one organization dubbed Child Abuse Resistance Education, or CARE, that was apparently born in mid-July as the brainchild of two women in Orange County, California. Their very first post notes their mission to, quote, to tell the story the media refuses to cover. They're courting donations on PayPal despite no formal agenda and a completely unfinished website, including no project under the projects tab. And despite a superficial lack of conspiracy rhetoric on their image posts, you can find it right in the hashtag of a caption, hashtag Lolita Express, hashtag Pedo Clinton, hashtag Pedo Ellen, and hashtag Pedowood is real. Elsewhere, and again, a lot of this stuff that always happens with these articles to try to tear down this stuff is the straw man of taking one example that's not even close to the people doing actual research and saying, see, look at how horrible these people are and how unqualified they are to talk about this. Just completely ignoring all the people that have done a lot of heavy lifting and exposing this stuff for years.
Absolutely. And another aspect of this, when it comes to the sort of mainstream reports, you'll notice every mainstream report about Pizzagate or anything connected to it, they go through so many hoops and sort of logical acrobatics. Strictly, it seems, when you boil it down, to let celebrities and whether they be political or entertainment-based celebrities, to let them off the hook. You know, they'll agree child trafficking is the worst it's ever been and it's horrible and it's happening more than anybody's willing to talk about. But they bend over backwards to try to let celebrities off the hook, as if, you know, a celebrity being embroiled in some illegal activity is just so crazy that you're such a conspiracy theorist to even consider it, which is so blatant in its grasping to keep the control over the minds of the population by keeping these deities of celebrity clean, when over and over and over these celebrities are getting taken down by their illegal activity. It's wild to me that these people would insist that to suspect any celebrity involvement, again, political or in the entertainment industry, is conspiracy theory. And what that's doing is showing the levers of control, saying, okay, we're totally losing control of this story. So, yeah, let's admit that it's going on. But to say that Ellen or Clinton or Tom Hanks or anybody could have participated is complete conspiracy theory. Put these people back up on a pedestal where they belong.
I think it was last week, Ellen's producers, like 2 or 3 main producers of the Ellen Show, were taken down for, you know, basically
sexual misconduct. Go through all possible lengths to get celebrities off the hook while having to sort of sheepishly admit that, this horrible thing is happening in the world. And it's disgusting. They should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know how they sleep at night, but I hope their paychecks are big enough to make them feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, so she gives a couple more examples, and then she goes on here. It's not that I'm convinced someone like Jocene, which is another example she gives here, is actively trying to run a grift or her grift on her audience. The others I'm not so sure about, but it's hard to ignore how so many people are aggressively pivoting to the issue of child trafficking in 2020, claiming to fill some important need while demonstrating very little ability to even fewer fresh ideas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. These accounts generate traffic with breathless claim that child trafficking is the biggest priority of the year. I mean, just in general,
what an evil person!
I know this person must not have children or something. I don't know. It's just weird. repeating claims that they're reporting things the mainstream media won't touch, no matter that a quick Google News search proves otherwise.
Oh, well, Google News search says so.
It's the justification for posting all kinds of fringe content under the guise of being open-minded. It's why so-calling kids with signs at a rally. Trump himself has courted QAnon as a virulent but useful part of his fan base, and the, quote, Hollywood plus Democrat elites equals pedophile cabal logic at play surely plays to his favor in an election year. But we also saw how fringe conspiracy theories can lead to actual violence. They bring up this point over and over and over again. As with the man who shot up the DC pizza shop with a rifle while believing he was freeing.
Shoot up the pizza shop. He shot one bullet that happened to destroy a hard drive that would hold all the relevant information.
Who happened to be an actor whose father was involved in helping child trafficking. Anyway. Perhaps more frightening than the gunshots, though, is how, even despite attempts to limit conspiracy content on social media platforms, this rhetoric just simmered until 2020 arrived and pivoted the best possible context for everything to boil over. It didn't make much for, quote, Epstein didn't kill himself memes to wrap into paranoid rehashes of the Clinton body count with all sorts of alleged ties between politicians, dead people, exploited kids, and a retail corporation. I think that's... what was
Wayfair?
The Wayfair, yeah. The reality is less about the ring of pedophiles pulling strings all over the world and more about the sad consequences of a broken social framework that pushes young people into exploitation, says Nola Brantley, an advocate and expert who trains government officials, lawyers, and other service providers on child abuse. She is a co-founder and former director of Missy, with 3 S's, a nonprofit in Oakland that focuses on getting assistance to trafficked youth. Brantley tells me that she's seeing and hearing about a consistent increase in abuse cases as an effect of the COVID pandemic, which she suggests has made it harder for people to spot and report abuse. But as for the galaxy brain theories on a global conspiracy to traffic kids, quote, I don't get caught up in it, she said quickly. Quote, the reality is people living in poverty, experiencing historical oppression, generational trauma. These are the real roots of what leads people to the commercial sex industry. It's not necessarily some barbed wire and handcuffs that keep kids in this. It's circumstance, a lack of opportunity, and the normalization of abuse, end quote. But that's not as juicy as the work of a group like Operation Underground Railroad proves that it takes so much work to free just a few kids from slavery, usually with no-name brand villains to point a finger at when the dust settles. It all reminds me of the gap between our cultural view of rapists and shadowy men in alleys rather than uncles and mentors and friends. Fittingly, there seems to be a lot of new noise around trafficking, but little fresh insight into what fixing the problem requires. Meanwhile, people with no idea of the harms of fringe theories...
Yeah, crazy to think that arresting high-profile traffickers would not be a sufficient solution for this person, or at least play a major role.
Yeah.
Must protect celebrities.
I know.
Must protect celebrities.
Or adrenochrome. Again, lots of interesting data concerning that. Quote, can a trend like this cause issues for people that are doing real work, who need funding and support, who now see problems because that funding and support is getting divided and spent on people who aren't even doing real work on the issue? Yeah, I do think that could be a problem, could be problematic for legitimate organizations, especially if these new accounts end up getting more reach online, Brantley tells me. And again, this is one group that she's highlighting here.
Yeah. Well, if Joe Schmo's YouTube channel is posting about Pizzagate, then this other institution won't get all the government money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
How does that divert funds at all?
Maybe they should get on the QAnon pedogate train, and then they'll get a whole bunch of funding.
I just don't believe this person. I think
you think
I don't believe this reporter
is a pedophile.
No, I think, whether, well, maybe, who knows? Apparently there's more of them than we could possibly think. And this person seems to be insistent that nobody in the limelight of, American media could possibly be involved in such nonsense. But I don't know. I actually would really like to talk to a non sort of conspiracy involved child trafficking relief organization, whatever that looks like. I know that there are many, and they all touch different aspects of solving the problem. But I don't know. I think regardless of if it's connected to conspiracy theories or not, there's been more voices raised about this issue that has just been languishing in obscurity forever, for decades and decades and decades. I think the attention that's being brought to it now, regardless of if it's talking about Hillary Clinton or not, is raising enough eyebrows to only, it can only, my view of it, I think this person presents, this is basically just a bullet point list of straw men to, again, discredit anything that goes against the official story. And for some reason, so obvious, trying to protect celebrities.
I thought it was a she writing this. Apparently it's a he.
I thought it was a she too.
Eric Kim, I think, or Eddie Kim. Eddie Kim, feature writer based in Los Angeles. So yeah, maybe, yeah. It's exactly. The other part of this, I think, to keep in mind here, because I know that a lot of people are on the QAnon train, and they think that, because of QAnon, that they've raised awareness of this issue, and that is true to some extent. But I was looking at some old with it directly with law enforcement, with the connection to satanic ritual abuse and multiple personality disorder.
Was he not the one who told us about Epstein 5 years ago?
He might have been.
We had a guest on Canary Cry Radio who brought up Epstein years before I'd ever heard Epstein's name.
I think him and
the people involved in this knew about Epstein for years.
Yeah,
and we're talking about it.
The other one was William Ramsey, I think, also brought up Epstein as part of the whole situation there. But yeah, he was a very early interview for us. I think 2012, 2013 maybe at the latest. So yeah, we've known about some of these issues for a long time. And in the context of, with Russ Dizdar talking about the spiritual side of things, the SRA side of things, which is sort of kind of missed or buried as part of this discussion as well. It's like, child trafficking
will never be talked about.
Yeah, it's kind of the other side of it, which is more disturbing, is this satanic, literal ritual abuse going on. And I think that's sort of the spiritual side of things is where it's more troubling, more in terms of the church to do something about it in spiritual warfare. That's where we can really step up. And listening to the old Russ Dizdar stuff, he was always frustrated that churches don't acknowledge that this stuff existed. So in that sense, maybe it's better that there's more awareness. But I think it's also a false type of hope or hopium, if you will, to suggest that Trump's for sure going to bring it down, or QAnon's going to take him down, because it's kind of like, well, what's the benefit? Okay, I get the benefit as sort of an immediate thing, but do you really think the entire network of these elite people running children around the world are going to be actually taken down? And if so, how do we know, number one? Number two, how do we prevent it from rising up again? What do we do? More surveillance? What do we do? Microchip the children to make sure they don't get taken? Like, what's the provision here? If you look ahead, the solutions aren't really as clear or as as I don't know. They're not as good in a sense. If you really think about what the outcome of this takedown would be, sure, we want to see certain people get arrested, or a perk walk of the Clintons or whatever. Like that'll be a momentous occasion.
Delicious.
And it would satisfy a lot of the people in this realm. However, if we're going to get down to brass tacks and get to the reality of the situation, does it solve the core issue here? And I would argue that it does not. That the idea of pedophiles existing, that's not going to go away. The idea of some kind of network that traffics and grooms children, that's not necessarily going to go away. And again, if we take it down, if we can take down the biggest network, how in the world are we going to make sure it doesn't happen again? We can employ all of those measures, that the surveillance everywhere, all that kind of stuff.
Surveillance being the biggest part of it. And this was, and again, I hate to make it part of the conversation, but I think it's, again.
Oh, Sam Harris brought it up.
Yes. The worthwhile conversation with Sam Harris, the worst epidemic. I saw somebody ask that it is not behind his paywall. So he has the full conversation out because he believes that it's important and he just wants to get it out there and he wants to talk about it, and he took it out from beneath the paywall. You can just search Sam Harris on whatever podcast thing. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. It went into this conversation of surveillance, digital privacy, things like that. And he makes some really good points, and it does throw a wrench into the gears of privacy purists, because if regarding something as simple as a law enforcement backdoor to iPhones. There's many different conversations around privacy, but that is just one topic. Okay, backdoor into iPhone data, which has been highly contested, and Apple's done a fairly okay job compared to their competitors of
until recently.
But even then, they're still doing better than everybody else, but still not great. But the question being, Gons, as if the option was give law enforcement a backdoor into iPhones in order to, make a big dent in child trafficking, even if it's to save, any number of child trafficking,
Right.
And it's a really good question, because generally, I will admit, I take the privacy purist view, which is, under no circumstances should the government be allowed a backdoor into your private digital data. But I want them to be able to get in the private data of somebody who is, even if they're not trafficking children proper, what if they have, 1,000 files of that's horrible material that they're sharing out and they're selling, or they're, doing whatever, contributing to the problem of child trafficking. Yeah. I do want the government to be able to get in there. I don't believe that person has the right to the privacy that I believe I have the right to.
Right.
So it's a very conflicting conversation for privacy purists. And it did. And me, knowing the risks of allowing, knowing the risks of the slippery slope of digital privacy and access, unauthorized access by the government, knowing the slippery slope, I could not deny that I would, I want the government to go into these iPhones and take down these sick people. So it's just a matter of, how much are privacy purists willing to bend on that, digital privacy puritanism in order to make it more possible to take down evil people. And it's a difficult conversation because, like I said it again, I'm quite the privacy purist. But if the question is, do I get to keep my precious privacy and, let children suffer as a result of it, I'm not willing to commit to that either.
Well, it all kind of comes down to it is an ethics question, but also, do you truly have a real true sense of private, or not a sense, but do you actually have tangible privacy when you're using digital anything? That's another question that brings up.
Well, and that's actually something that does need to be addressed, because there seems to be this information, and I would call it disinfo, and it's used against privacy purists with the concept that, they already have everything. They can already get into everything. And I'm telling you, that isn't the truth. There, you can keep, if you're careful and you're diligent, you can keep your digital privacy. This idea that the government already has every possible piece of your digital data is just not true. And it's used as an argument to stifle privacy focused people.
Right.
Tell them, why are you so focused on this? That's so silly. They already have everything. And it's, maybe I'll go into it deeper later on, but the cold hard truth is they don't. If they did have a backdoor into everything, why would we even be talking about it? Why would it even be brought up in Congress? Why would it even be an ongoing thing?
Well, they got to keep the illusion going, but also,
well, sure, you would chalk it up to complete theater.
Yeah.
But there's a line between complete theater and the other side of that,
not
the
complete
theatrical theater.
Well, the other thing to mention, and this is getting a little bit more into the futuristic talk, or you can call esoteric conversation about quantum computers and AI and all that. But in the show that I just finished watching called Travelers, that was one of the things. They can only travel back in time to the 21st century when technology was everywhere, because the AI quantum computer can see anything, access anything that ever had a computer chip in it. And that was kind of one of their talking points. And if you talk about a quantum computer that can calculate endless, infinite calculations and possibilities, and to find that one thing, theoretically, it's possible for something like that to take place, where it can go back and mine all kinds of information that's stored on microchips, not necessarily accessible to humans now, but given a backdoor in the sense that anything computing-wise, electronics,
kind of
is a theoretical possibility. Is all I'm saying.
Theoretical, and also, if I'm gonna be real about it, I spend way too much time getting the details on this and thinking about this and talking to people about this, and there's just things to remember. You can have digital privacy. It is possible. It takes right now. It takes energy. It takes diligence, and it takes non-compromising, strategies.
Right.
But you can do it. So this idea that the government already has everything is false. I believe it's disinformation in order to normalize the idea of letting them have everything. And you can see it at work with this TikTok thing.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time talking about TikTok the past few episodes and its relation to privacy. And all these, Gen Zers saying, the government already has everything, already knows everything. Why would I care about TikTok, taking my information over to China? And it's just not true. It's been normalized for them to not care about their privacy.
Yeah. And
that's what's dictating these conversations. And I'm telling you right now, folks, it is possible to have the privacy if you put enough energy into it. So don't let the normalization sink in. That will make you complacent and, give up the permission, if you will, the consent to companies and governments to have everything.
Right.
They want you to think that it's already happening.
And then tying it back to this conversation about, surveillance and privacy, given the pedophile network, so to speak, or just pedophiles in general, or just bad people in general, criminals in general. It's almost like one of those things that we're not necessarily going to be able to solve. And there's not going to be a right answer. It feels like the pendulum might swing one way or the other, but the problem is once you give government access, then they're never going to give it up. So It's always going to be the situation, I think, for the foreseeable future. The best interest for all of us is to maintain that level of privacy that we have digitally, or access to the type of privacy that you're talking about, and figure out ways that we can expose some of those actors in other ways. That doesn't have to be a digital footprint. These people that use this type of thing of encrypted networks and all that, the dark web and all that, they leave trails, but also they're actually real people in the real world. And so if they are seen, doing something somewhere, or you kind of get my drift, where it's like they're going to be acting in the real world doing something. And so if there's enough of a cause there or suspicion there, it's almost like a warrant. I can see how that can trigger some sort of access or allowed access into a backdoor of a digital device per se. But again, that just depends on the amount of savvy that the people that are doing this type of thing have. And
there's certain triggers, like you said, that would make warrants be effective or viable. The problem is that a lot of times you can't get a warrant just based on. It's very complicated. The separation between digital
I understand.
privacy and traditional warrant thing. So a lot of people are saying, just make it a warrant system. You get a warrant to get in.
Yeah, there's
a lot of problems. It's more complicated than that, and we don't have enough time to go into it on this show. But we'll keep it in mind for further conversations later on.
Yeah, and part of the discussion too, with getting into how our systems, our internet, is becoming more decentralized. And so that's another part of the conversation. We won't get into it necessarily, but of how things can exist immutably but not necessarily the access to that information. And that's a whole nother level. And that's why in the world of cryptography, people talk about, Bitcoin. Oh, what about the quantum computer? It's going to hack your Bitcoin. It's like, well, if quantum computers can hack Bitcoin, it's going to be able to hack everything. So it's, Bitcoin's going to be the last of your concerns. It's going to hack all computing systems.
Everything.
Every
possible
thing.
Yeah.
So it's more than that. It's a bigger conversation to talk about that. But yeah, I think we've kind of gone on about this, but I think the point here being that it's a discussion that needs to be had more as part of the greater discussion of child trafficking and the solutions of it. And because right now it's just the people like here, this Eddie Kim guy saying, oh, it's crazy conspiracy people, and then on the other side, you got your really zealous QAnon folks saying we're going to take him down. Trump's going to take him down, and it's all going to be great in the new age, and then that whole thing. So per usual, there is a narrow path in between where some truth lies, and where we ought to sort of stand.
Truth lies.
Yes, and it's not so easy to just make it a political issue, because there's a spiritual side to this, and there's, like we've been talking about, the surveillance side of this, and actual tangible solutions to this problem of this networking of trafficking of children and the children that go missing and all this kind of stuff. So. It does seem like a big Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution, though, doesn't it? It's like, what? Oh yeah, all the children. Yeah, we got to take down all the pedophiles. Well, why don't we microchip them so we know exactly where they are?
Chip the kids. I don't know. I'm almost convinced. I'll chip the kids.
Are you gonna chip your cats? Are your cats chipped?
They are chipped, actually. Yeah.
Oh, you got Mark of the Beast cats.
Mark of the.
And you're the beast. They have little Bible studies, cat Bible studies at night.
I know everything about you, little kitten.
And they're all the googly eyes, or googly eyes are the beast. He shall have 2 eyes that are googly.
All right. Are we going to hit these other 2 little details on the situation?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We kind of need to be moving forward.
Yes, real quick. So first off, let me do this one real quick, because
we could skip them. I mean, I don't know if they're
let me just
the
take
most
a moment
important.
to mention it,
Okay.
because
All right.
one of the things that even this article mentioned was save the children. Save the children was trending. Save the children. And I thought it was interesting that they changed a lot of the QAnon folks and the pro-pedogate, or, anti-pedogate folks changed it to save our children, because SaveTheChildren.org is a foundation that seems to lead to all the big corporations. And not just that, but if you go to their about page here, let me see if I can find this about page. I thought I had it in here. I guess I closed the wrong one, because maybe it's his first about page. It's got a list of names of people that are involved in this. And, man, I totally don't have it right here. I got to find it. But let's see, maybe leadership and trustees. Maybe that's
Are you looking for the partners? What are you looking for?
Yeah, just people involved in it. And
people. I've got a list of companies here.
Yeah, you got the list of companies, but then there's man, I'm totally bumming out because I messed it up. Because the names that were included in here were Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefellers. There were a few others. There's a handful of others, but anyway, the Save the Children.
Well, there's something called the Simon Society.
I think,
which is interesting. That they need to update that. The Bezos family is not as homogenous as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, looks like I can't find the
it's got
exact
Oppenheimer
page.
in it. It's got wow, yeah. No, it's on that same partners page. It's just further down on the line.
I thought it was okay.
Maybe there you go. Let's
move
on. If you want to take a look at, we'll go into that maybe again. This is going to be an ongoing story, so we'll move that on. And I think the Hasbro doll thing. I think everybody's heard of that, but let's just review it real quick, and then we'll take a little break. This is from BusinessInsider.com. Hasbro pulls Trolls doll amid uproar over giggle button between its legs, which critics say promotes child abuse. Hasbro's World Tour Giggle and Sing Proppy doll was designed so that it would make giggling noises when in a seated position, according to the Hasbro spokesperson. But a petition on change.org points out that the button activates certain sounds, is placed underneath the doll's skirt between her legs, which critics have deemed inappropriate. When you push this button on the doll's privates, she gasps and giggles. The petition, which called for the toy's removal, now has more than 311,000 signatures. This is not okay for a child's toy. So I'm sure everybody's seen this floating around Facebook here, but yes, this little troll doll was very disturbing from now what we know as being, grooming tactics. And toys have always been a part of grooming tactics for people who perpetrate this sin, this crime.
Yeah.
And so, they're taking it off the shelves. They are stopping it. And here's the one thing. It's only because of the crazy conspiracy theorists that this happened.
Right.
I mean, this is a very legit grooming tool. If not meant, if Hasbro didn't design it for that exact purpose, not even as a corporation, but some sick designers, sneaking it past whatever. I'm not even making any statements on the role of the corporation or individuals in the corporation, but it certainly could be used for grooming. And it's only because of the crazy conspiracy theorist crowd that action was taken on this. The vanilla normie crowd did not cause this to happen. It's the passionate, fringy folks that made this happen, taking this down, getting this off the shelves, taking it out of the hands of those who would use it as a tool for grooming. And so to those who are in that category, we salute you.
All right. Let's we got to take a break, and we got to get out of here. We're pretty much
we got to
time.
move fast, so we'll do that.
Okay, here we go.
It's break time.
That's right. Take a break, everybody. Don't go anywhere, though, because after the break, we've got a very important article concerning lithium being put in drinking water and some moves to make that a reality. So, if you're worried about water quality or fluoride or a lot of those long-standing topics, lithium might be next. So you're going to want to hear about that. Then we'll see what we get to, but we'll just do the
Nephilim update after that.
Okay,
and call it.
That's what we'll do. We'll move the other stories to next week's, Wednesday's today's show. So stick around for that. But before then, we want to thank some of our wonderful followers and producers. And Gons, we'll just go fast here. I'm going to start over with new Twitch followers. These are people who answered the call to follow us on Twitch. It helps us out a lot when you follow us and view the show on Twitch. We had a nice little spike in Twitch viewers today, so thank you very much for that, folks. And we've got some funny new usernames here. So let's go down the list. Are you ready, Gons?
Yep. Let's do it.
Step Rouge. Thank you very much, Step Rouge. Kemotso. Thank you very much, Kemotso. We got Bad Guacamole. There's a lot of talk about guacamole in the chat today. Bad Guacamole, thanks for being here. Tommy Rotten following us on Twitch. We've also got Red Ronin 19. Gons, this one's important. Pay attention. FBI agent in Gons's phone.
Oh, no.
Yes. So your FBI agent is now following us on Twitch. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
There. We've got Romanclature. Thank you. Aslana 7. Decipher.
Ooh.
Emerald Dragon.
Ooh.
Selah times 3. Selah X3. Can't Crack Decode. Thank you very much. Dave 1667.
Long time ago.
Air Robinson 30. You've got a deep thinker here. I Question Everything 97.
Excellent.
And also another deep thinker, Lord Corn Cheese 69. Mariska K. Amy Yay. Backlash and Forth. Basil's not wearing goggles. Okay. This one. Let's see here. Achi of Yawa.
There it is.
Virtual,
Child of Yahweh.
No. AHCHI of Yahweh.
Okay.
Virtual Shaddy. Quandary 1. Almost done here.
Okay.
Actually, that is it. That's the end. Thank you very much to all our new Twitch followers. It really helps out a lot. And if you can, please watch the show on Twitch. We encourage everybody to do that. You might enjoy YouTube or Facebook or something a little bit more, but we do recommend following us on Twitch or at least multiple outlets and turn on notifications, because you never know who's actually going to send out the notification and who's not. But Twitch is a good option for that. Next, we want to thank some of our new producers. That's right. We are on the value for value model. What does that mean? That means we don't believe in gaining your trust and your attention and then commoditizing it and selling it to advertisers. We believe that that's what's wrong with the world today, is that when you trust and view a piece of content, a lot of times if they're selling ads, you are being commoditized, turned into a number for the personal gain of the creator of that content. And we just didn't want to do that. It didn't feel right to us. We didn't want to start thinking about you, listeners and producers, as commodities, as just a number to get bigger so we can get paid more. Instead, we believe in the concept where if you help pay for a piece of media, if you value a piece of media, I mean, think about going out to the movies. If you're going out to the movies, you're going to pay, $15 for a ticket. And don't even get me started on if you're buying popcorn and stuff. You could easily spend $50 at a movie theater and you get, 2 hours of entertainment. Well, we're putting out sometimes 8 to 10 hours of more than entertainment.
Infotainment.
Every week. Yes, infotainment. And so there you go. If you gain any value, maybe consider comparing it to other pieces of data that you absorb. And if you value the show, you want to keep the show going, and you want to put your money where your heart is, helping the show out is a great way to do that. And because this is the real world, you're not just a listener, you're not just a donor, you are a producer. So we want to thank some of our new producers. Guns, are you ready?
I am ready. Yes, ready.
Okay. Over here at patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk, patreon.com/CCNT. We got a couple of people coming in. First of all, Gons, let us thank, I'm going to go to the official list here. Let's thank Sergey. Thank you very much, Sergey, coming in. And then let's give a big old thank you to producer AMF.
Thanks, AMF.
That's right. Some new producers. Everybody in the chat is thanking you. And if you're not, you need to thank them now because they are helping the show keep it going. Now, over at patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, 2 separate accounts, but you get to take your pick. Patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. I want to thank an existing producer for upgrading their producership, and that is producer Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Like I always say, it's hard enough to get new people to support the show. It's even more difficult to get producers to upgrade their support. So we are eternally grateful for Stephanie, but also Sergey and AMF. Now, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. We've got more ways for you to support the show. One of them is canarycryradio.com/support. canarycryradio.com/support. That's right. And over there at canarycryradio.com/support, we've got PayPal options. You can join on a monthly subscription, or if commitment's not your thing, a one-time donation in any amount. We've also got cryptocurrency stuff and all sorts of ways to support the show. Remember, you get what you put into it, or you put in what you get out of it. Either way, please consider supporting the show. Now, Gons, who came in over PayPal since last episode?
Well, from PayPal, we have some producers here, Ciara. And we also have producer Justin.
Very much, Justin.
And finally, we had producer Brian come in.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We could not do it without you, our producers, and we appreciate that very much. Now, there's other ways you can support the show. You can create art. You can create jingles. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. Gons, did anybody do any hard production work this week?
I don't think we got any jingles as far as I can tell.
Okay.
If I missed you, please let me know, and we'll definitely get to it.
Get you on the next episode.
Of course, we can't go an episode without art from Ali Gazel Bonds in the chat.
Yes.
And today she sent us a piece of art, hand-drawn, called Just Glitch It. And
Just glitch it.
This was in response to our last episode being so glitchy and not not being
problematic.
Able to, yeah, very problematic
today.
The children, not the kids. They're not goats.
Oh, sorry. And yes, so thank you, Ali Gazel Bonds. This is a very good one to describe it to the audio listeners. It's called Just Glitch It, and it is a pack of dogs. We've got 2 dogs, and one of them is using a computer, which is very impressive. And this dog is saying, "They're going live again, boss." And then the other dog, the boss dog. Now, mind you, these dogs have collars on that are YouTube branded. So these are the YouTube dog mafia. And the boss dog says, "Pull it. Wait, I have a better idea. Glitch it." And so that's why we've been having so many glitches on YouTube. The dog mafia over at YouTube do not like our cat-centric.
And you gotta you can't forget about the all-seeing eye pyramid YouTube logo in the background, and also the little YouTube puppy down below. It's they get him early. They groom them early.
Lots of little details. You really do need to check out this art for yourself. And if you want to do that, you can. I have not done the art post on Facebook. I promise I will do that soon. But you can find a bunch of art from producers of the show at facebook.com/Canary Cry Radio, or on the show notes at canarycrynewstalk.com. So make sure to check that out, and make sure to thank all of our wonderful producers for keeping the show going and adding to the value in all sorts of different ways. So remember, you can become a producer. Please do. We need sometimes it's sad when we have an episode and have no producers to announce. So if you've been waiting for your time to support the show, even if it's a few bucks a month, whatever, we understand that money's tough for everybody right now. Although Trump did go rogue and approve some stimulus packages for, even though Congress went home without coming to a decision, Trump going rogue again and giving out money to the people. So anyways, if you got a few bucks and you want to help support the show, we literally cannot do the show without our producers. So please remember us for the next show on Wednesday, which will be the 12th of August. And head to patreon.com/CCNT or canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. And you can also help us out by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. That's very important. And more than anything, just share the show with your people. All right, Gons, are we good to wake up? You ready?
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Wake up, sleepyheads, and here it is. I loved this piece of news because it is such a throwback to an old and legit conspiracy to drug people all over the world through their water supply, mainly focused in America, but I know it happens other places as well, and that's the fluoride issue. If you're not aware of this, there's a simple Google search will teach you everything you need to know. Go ahead and check out Snopes. But here we go. Vice.com. The article says scientists say lithium should be added to drinking water to prevent suicides. A new study published in the British Journal of Psychiatry finds a link between lithium in drinking water and lower suicide levels. Maybe they had the right idea putting lithium in 7-Up when it was first sold in 1929. Oh, the good old days where there's cocaine and Coca-Cola and lithium in 7-Up.
Lithium and 7-Up, yeah.
There was a funny meme going around regarding the 1918 flu pandemic. And it's like, yeah, they had a pandemic in 1918, but at least they had cocaine in their soda. It was a different time.
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe they had the right idea putting lithium in 7-Up when it was first sold in 1929, because in an era of rising suicide rates, especially among young people, a new study from Brighton and Sussex Medical School published in the British Journal of Psychiatry has found a strong link between geographical areas with high levels of lithium in public drinking water and lower suicide rates. In a press release from BSMS, the study's lead author, Professor Anjum Memon, said, quote, "It is promising that higher levels of trace lithium in drinking water may exert an anti-suicidal effect and have the potential to improve community mental health." Part funded by King's College London, the study is a meta-analysis of 3 decades of research in Austria, Greece, Italy, Lithuania, UK, Japan, and the USA. It concludes that lithium's protective abilities could be further tested by randomized community trials of lithium supplementation of the water supply in communities with high prevalence of mental health conditions and risks of suicide, which basically means their test subjects would be the entire city of Los Angeles or New York or, something like that. Deliberately lacing the water supply with a mind-altering chemical in some zones might seem like something out of a science fiction novel, but the authors of the report, as other scientists have said before them, think it's an idea worth experimenting. The report states, quote, "These findings, which are consistent with the findings in clinical trials that lithium reduces suicide and related behaviors in people with a mood disorder, suggests that naturally occurring lithium in drinking water may have the potential to reduce the risk of suicide and may possibly help in mood stabilization. particularly in populations with relatively high suicide rates and geographical areas with a greater range of lithium concentration in the drinking water. Just a real quick note right here, just to compare it with the fluoride studies and the addition of fluoride in drinking water across the world. The original study did find that naturally occurring fluoride in water did help with people's teeth. But the problem was that study was used to justify pouring synthetically created fluoride, which is a chemical byproduct of some, it's basically waste. It's chemical waste, this synthetic fluoride. So this naturally occurring fluoride, which, does exist in nature and can be found in some water sources, was used to justify pouring chemical waste, which is synthetic fluoride. And then we can get into all sorts of scientific reasons why they are not the same. It's complex, but it's not too much to understand, just too much for this short amount of time we have left today. But there you go. Same thing happening here. Naturally occurring lithium in drinking water may have the potential to reduce the risk of suicide, but that's going to lead to pouring synthetic chemical waste lithium into water. But anyways, moving on. You cannot blame scientists for thinking outside the box on suicide prevention. Our mental health has been deteriorating over lockdown. Current figures show there are around 800,000 suicides a year. It is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds globally. Unfortunately, the evidence shows that the isolation and economic stress caused by COVID-19 may well exacerbate this trend and lead to a rise in suicides. So basically what they're saying is we created a situation that caused more suicides, and so now we have the excuse to drug everybody against their consent. Just if you wanted a clarification of that last paragraph. The article continues, quote, in these unprecedented times of COVID-19 pandemic and the consequent increase in the incidence of mental health conditions, accessing ways to improve community mental health and reduce the incidence of anxiety, depression, and suicide is ever more important, said Professor Memon. Similar quote can also be found in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Scientists are not certain exactly how this naturally occurring silver-white metallic element found in soil, seawater, and rocks, and therefore vegetables, grains, and water supplies, alters human mood. The suspicion is that it stimulates the growth of nerve cells. But since it was discovered in 1949 by Australian psychiatrist John Cade to be effective in treating mania, it has become a recognized medication for the treatment and prevention of bipolar disorder, for stabilizing mood, and in reducing the risk of suicide in people with mood disorders. In some studies, it has been shown to help reduce aggression and the onset of dementia. Before it became approved medicine in the early 20th century, lithium drinks, including 7-Up, which removed the lithium in 1949, to go back to the days, lithium beer, lithium water from an ancient Native American sacred medicinal spring in Georgia, were promoted as calming tonics due to its electroconductive properties. Lithium has since been used as a component in batteries and cell phones. Oh no, don't tell the kids that. They already got done eating Tide Pods. Don't tell them they need to eat batteries.
Or just use their cell phones to prevent suicide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh, the poetry is it's incredible. Now, it is available as a mood balancing supplement, available in online health shops in the form of lithium orotate, although its effectiveness in this form is not proven. And then, you know what? I'm going to skip the rest because it kind of just keeps going into, well, it goes into dosing issues and how much water people drink, all the same type of worries that we would worry about. But there you go, Gons. Let's pour some psychoactive medication into the water supply.
I'm so happy because today I found my friends. You know that song?
Yes. History will look back on the human race and be like, oh, what a strange time when they, all these depressive and mentally unhealthy lifestyles were celebrated and lauded as the pinnacle of human achievement. And they were so good that we had to drug the entire population to keep them from killing themselves. Oh, humans.
One of the things that it's for some reason I remember this about the song Lithium by Nirvana, which is what I was singing there a moment ago. Mm-hmm. I remember a buddy of mine who was just a super grunge guy. He was like, the greatest genius of Kurt Cobain. He made a chorus, because the chorus of that song is literally yeah. That's what lithium will do to you. A whole generation of people drinking water and just singing yeah. That's what they want, not people. Well, that's not a very good example. Kurt Cobain committed suicide, allegedly.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's full circle.
There you go.
Okay. But yeah.
So there you go, folks. They're taking the fluoride situation to the next level. Keep an eye out. Yep.
All right. People calling us fools in the chat. Always good. We got one more story here before we got to get out of here, and that is a Nephilim update. This is from algeminer.com, I think. Algeminer. Former NFL running back blames Jewish cabal for abuses in the world.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we've talked about this guy before. Former NFL star running back Larry Johnson has posted a series of anti-Semitic tweets, one which blamed the Jewish cabal for human trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia, ritualistic child torture, perversion, and human sacrifice / murder.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, one tweet on Sunday responded to ESPN host Max Kellerman, who, in response to anti-Semitic social media posts last month by Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, said in the aftermath of the controversy that, quote, Jews do not have a plan for world domination. And let me just keep going down here because I'll get to the Nephilim part here because here we go. Johnson also claimed that before the Abrahamic religions, which is stupid in itself because Israelites, Shemites aren't a religion. Okay. The Nephilim, that tainted line of Ham, were the first Babylonian occult practitioners of pagan idolatry. AAs, you are not Hamites. You're more Shemitic.
Oh, wow.
Very,
he's really diving right in, huh?
Diving right into the HR movement there. Or what is it? What is it?
Talking about Black Israelites?
Yeah. BIH. BIH, yeah. Or no, BHI. Sorry. Yeah, Black Hebrew Israelites. So there you go. He mentioned the Nephilim, and he's getting a whole bunch of people talking about it because, of course, who's what's not to like about a former NFL star, Black Hebrew Israelite, talking about the Nephilim, bringing attention to the greatest conspiracy of this world.
Nephilim update.
Basil's True Love in the chat says Joe Rogan talked about the Nephilim.
Ooh, did he really?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, we gotta connect with that guy. Finally, we can get on the show badge.
Yeah. All right.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for sticking around here. We appreciate it so much, and we apologize. Well, kind of. If you need an apology, we apologize for cutting the show a little short today. Although it was technically the length of a show.
Yeah,
so
it was.
What are you going to do about it, folks? Come at me. But we thank you so much. Remember, we're going to be back on Wednesday, August 12th, sometime between noon and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure to follow us all over the place: Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, DLive, Periscope. I would say follow us on all of them and turn on notifications, because it's really a numbers game, folks. You got to get as many outlets committing to send you a notification, and hopefully one of them will actually do it. So go ahead and do that, and tune in to Wednesday's show. And remember us, because we are going to need some producers to thank on that day. If you've been playing with the idea of supporting the show, producing the show, now's your chance. You, dear listener, individual listener, I'm talking to you, individually, you've been thinking about it, consider it in the next couple of days so we can give you a shout out on next week's show, this coming Wednesday's show. So thank you very much for that. Remember, you can support the show also by sending in art or jingles. Go ahead and send that to canarycryradio@gmail.com. Gons, we forgot to play the One Art Please jingle for the art section. We got to remember to line that up because that needs to be there more. But yes, you can create some sort of art or jingle or anything, or just let us know how you rattled somebody's cage. You can send that to canarycryradio@gmail.com. You can also help the show out a ton by leaving ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the show, but specifically do that on Apple Podcasts because that helps the algorithms share the show with people who have never heard it before. It's an easy way to support the show and spread the truth. And it's a way that Gons and I have no control over. It's all you guys. We have not had a review lately, so I would appreciate that very much. Let's see here. I think that's it. Anything else? Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so.
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Now remember, one of the best ways, to spread the show, but also to help wake up people in your life is to share the show with them. You know, if they start waking up, they're reading headlines, they're realizing the world is not what it seems. We like to think that we're a pretty easy entry into this type of material without being too scary. So if you got somebody in your life who needs to hear this stuff, go ahead and send them an episode. Let them know that Gons and I will be gentle as we lead them down the narrow path of truth. And it really helps out the show, so we appreciate that. And if you need any more advice, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Remember, one more time, we will be back on Wednesday the 12th, sometime between noon and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember us in all the ways that you can, and we'll see you back here then. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time, but until you do, think outside the cage.
Ooh, the 33rd minute we are ending the show.
Ooh. Whoa. Wake up, sheeple. Ooh, perfect timing. My virtual reality died again.
It's gotta be biblical. Can't deal with it right now, Basil.
Before it is too late.
That was nice.
You can't handle the truth.
Look it up.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up.
Leave the bird alone.
I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last